I am very pleased to be in the goat area with Sydney Barnett. Sydney, you're going to teach us a little bit about goats today, all right? And I have to admit, I don't know a whole lot about them. Someone has told me they are escape artists and they can really get out unless you have good fencing. Could you educate us on that?
Yeah, my one goat, Marge, she can jump so high. She can jump out one of the stall windows, like it's like this high, and she can jump up and out of it. Or sometimes if we have her in another pen, she'll jump onto something else and then jump up on the window. Or she'll like get a running start and run up.
So I was correct. They can escape. Yeah. All right, just between us, have any of the goats escaped and ended up on somebody else's property?
Yeah, my goat Kizzy, she got out and she went to our neighbor's driveway and we couldn't find her, but then she was eating flowers there, so.
So that might be unpopular with the neighbors if your goats like to eat their flowers. What do you think?
Well, they just moved in, so yeah, they weren't that happy, but they didn't really see it, I don't think.
Now, I understand you have horses also. How new is goats and keeping goats for you?
Pretty new. I've only had goats for this is like my 4th year. But before we watched somebody's goats. That's how we got ours. And then we said, let's get some goats. So then we got some goats.
How many goats do you have? And have you shown yet? And will you be showing again?
I have 3 goats. I haven't showed yet, but I'm going to show tomorrow.
How many times have you showed in the past?
I showed somebody else's goat for them last year, and then I think the year before that I showed mine.
Now, my daughters have sheep, and sheep sometimes aren't cooperative once they get in the ring. Have you experienced the lack of cooperation on the part of goats?
Yeah.
And how do you remedy that?
Yeah, you just kind of try to talk to them and stuff, but sometimes you just, like if they're in the ring and they start going crazy and they don't want to stay still, you can just try to like walk them around in a circle and see if they will. Usually that works.
And these goats have names?
Yeah.
And why don't you tell us who they are?
That's Kizzy.
All right, Kizzy.
And then the little one is her baby. Her name's Marjorie. And then the brown and white one, her name's Pennsylvania, but I call her Penny.
People have unique personalities and idiosyncrasies. How about goats? What are some of the differences in their personalities?
Well, Kizzy's really, really mean sometimes. And the baby Marge, she gets out a lot. She's the one that always jumps really high and gets out. And Penny's like really nice and shy.
Now, we're relatively close to the goats, and I don't want them to hear this, so keep your voice down just a little bit. Do you have a favorite, and if so, why?
Sometimes I do. Like some days, it kind of goes by. Like right now, my favorite's probably like Penny because all the other ones are being kind of mean to her, so I feel bad for her. But then sometimes Penny like is kind of bad and she runs away and stuff. Like she'll run away when I try to bring her into her stall. So then other times it's Kizzy or Marge. It just depends.
Is this your first Pennsylvania farm show? And if not, how many have you been to? Not as a participant, we heard that, but just a visitor.
I don't know how many I've been to. I know I used to come here before I showed my goats. I don't know.
Okay, so is it a little bit overwhelming in terms of all of these goats? I don't know, there's hundreds of goats here and a huge number of stalls, and to contemplate that I'm going to be competing out there in the ring against some very experienced people. Is that a little intimidating?
Yeah, sometimes, but I mean, there's not much you can do about it. It's just a goat, so.
All right, well, that's the spirit. How many animals did you start with? Where did you get them from? And will you be breeding? Where did they come from?
I got my first goat from Brick Lane Stables, Clay and Aaron Hales, they own that. And then I got a second one from there. And then I bred my one Kizzy. I bred her and then her baby's right there. And then I bred them again this fall/winter. And yeah, they're going to have babies this spring. Well, Kizzy will.
How many baby goats do they have at a time, typically?
Usually they have like 2 or 3, but then last year my goat only had 1. So.
All right, we don't really know why, it just happens. If you were to give somebody advice right now about keeping goats are starting their own herd, what would you recommend? It's a good idea, you've had fun with it, or maybe you ought to consider something else?
I think they definitely should do it. If they like goats, they should. But if they're like, oh yeah, goats are cute, but they're not actually gonna like take care of them, they just want to like have them as a pet, then maybe they should get like a hamster or something, because goats are kind of a lot of work.
How many siblings do you have, and do they help with the goats, or mom and dad? Is this a family project, or is this a you alone thing?
It's pretty much me, but while I'm away at school or I do diving, I have that practice for that and play practice. A lot of times my mom and my dad will take care of them. My older sister, she does a lot with the barn and the horses, so she takes care of them a lot too. But yeah, everybody kind of helps.
Couple closing comments and a question. You were outside these last couple weeks taking care of the animals, and it was pretty brutal weather this winter. What's it like for them? What's it like for you taking care of animals in 5-degree weather?
It's really cold, and I definitely wish it was warmer. I think they do too. They have a lot of hay in their pen, though, to cuddle up with. But it was pretty windy. They don't like that. They eat the snow sometimes, though, so I guess they like that.
So does my 4-year-old daughter. They're outside. It's winter, snowing. They have an enclosure they prefer when the weather's brutal. Now, I know for our sheep, they're well insulated from the cold. How so with goats in terms of insulation and resistance to cold weather?
We put ours back in the barn. They have the furthest stall back in the barn during the night, but during the day, they can go out in the pasture or go into another stall that's by the pasture.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're very accomplished with your goats. Now the important question of the day, and you're really going to have to think this through. What's your favorite food at the farm show?
Probably French fries.
Are you ready to go get some French fries right now? Because I'm ready for French fries. The French fries are in that direction right there.